Welcome, Angie. Thank you so much for joining us here today to share some of the insights and experiences that you've been having with the 7 keys. I really appreciate you taking this time out to do this. And you're what now outside of Houston, Texas, aren't you?
I am in Houston, Texas, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, like many of the people who come to our website or who will look to the 7 keys for attention development for help, they do so when they're struggling, when people are dealing with issues that are overwhelming them, and whether it's costing them emotional imbalance or difficulties with focusing their attention, and whether they get labeled as having depression, anxiety, ADHD. We know that sometimes life can be overwhelming and the struggles can really put us in an emotional, mental state that's unhealthy. And I know you've had some of these experiences that you've been having to deal with in your life. And I would love if you would maybe share some of what the struggles that you've been through have been all about recently.
Of course.
Please share with me.
Well, I guess we could start from the beginning. When I joined the program, obviously life was happening into what we call quote unquote life. The daily struggles, the stress here and there, little issues that kind of pile up and you kind of put under the rug, but you know they're there and they're bugging you. You just don't know how to deal with it. So once I started the program, it takes a bit, and I'll be honest, it takes a bit to get used to the habit of really logging in every morning, seeing what you need to do, doing it while going through life, and then logging in at night to get the feedback and continue on to the next day. So I'll be honest, it took me a few long days to start getting, but then I figured it out that it was something that was holding me back. It was a change that, although I really, really wanted I was still struggling in the inside that I really want to do this, but I would sabotage myself so many times over and over and over. Then I finally got into the daily habit. I finally went ahead and just the daily practice, I mean, as minimal as it would be, kind of grounds me and kind of centers me into saying, okay, there's things happening around me, but I'm okay. Right now I'm doing this program. Okay, wow, I forgot to breathe today, or I forgot to breathe yesterday, or really, how did I treat the people yesterday? How did I treat myself? Or the little intentions throughout the program really starts working it in. Throughout the program, obviously, like I said, little stressors here and there. The beginning of January, we're 4 sisters and my mom. At the beginning of January, one of my sisters was diagnosed with cancer. So obviously that was a shock. Everything happened really fast, which is, if we talk about what the program teaches, it's, be yourself, be in the present moment, be centered. That didn't exist in our world right there. Everything was chaos between, it's the fact that it's my sister, it's the fact that she's close to me, the fact that we're both mothers. I had to also think about her kids, her husband. I mean, he was doing his part, but obviously he's her primary caretaker in the sense that they're husband and wife. It was just a lot of us involved. My mom and one of my older sisters live in North Carolina. They came to help with the chemo and to be here. The backstory to that, my mom, for as long as I can remember, has repressed a lot of her issues, a lot of depression, a lot of guilt, a lot of blaming other people. So when she came, she tried to convince my sister to not do the chemo because in my mom's mind, the chemo was devastating. It was worse than the actual cancer, which she might have a point, but that was her very strong belief. So when the time of the operation came, my mom kind of handled it fine. We all try to handle it. You continue with your own children, with your own life, with your own work, with your own doing, plus all this chaos on top of you. You have to try to find a way, or I try to find a way to get peace. And it really did come from the program because of the habit that I made myself get into. It's not that I wanted to. I made myself get into because there are days I just wanted to send everything you know where. After the operation happened, she had a few things here and there. Actually, I remember the date. The second week of February, my sister had her first round of chemo, and it was a week long. As my sister's having chemo, and we're all dealing with the effects of it as individuals and as families and as trying to help her family, then we had to deal with a new added factor that literally my mom lost it. Mentally, she was not there. She started going into I would call hallucinations or whatever they were. She just started believing different things. She started freaking out. She started throwing away her pills. She started throwing away my sister's pills. So we had to deal with my sister in bed with chemo throwing up and my mom in the kitchen throwing away pills. So it wasn't easy. It really wasn't easy. February 13th, my sister called me, told me to go with her because they were going to have to take my mom to the hospital because they didn't know what else to do. Like I said, they don't live here. They came here because of my sister's situation. So when we took her to the ER, she was psychotic. She wouldn't get out of the car. It was crazy. It was in a small SUV watching the person you admire, your mom, going around in circles in the car, not knowing what to do with herself, not being her. I mean, completely paranoid, completely schizophrenic, not knowing what to do with it. Long story short, we had to go back home, call 911, and they had to come get her. Thankfully, it worked out. Everybody was nice. Everybody talked. She allowed them to take her to the hospital. So that was the 13th of February. And then the very next day, my sister's chemo again kicked in, and then I was at the hospital again, February 14th, the next night. Had to call the paramedics. Same paramedics, same ER people at the hospital. They just kept looking at us like, another family member? What is this? It was just hard. I mean, it was just really, really hard.
So here, all of this frightening health problems and challenges being dealt with in your family, how do you deal with that struggle? Because any human being is going to find that emotionally, that's going to be a very heavy weight to bear. How did you deal with that, and in what way did the 7 keys help you to deal with that?
I'll start backwards. I think the 7 keys helped me in the sense of, because I was doing the daily activities, it helped me stay centered in me. And I know it might sound weird to somebody listening to this or, just not living it. But although she's my sister and she's my mom, me personally, I knew I had to take care of myself. If not, I wouldn't be able to take care of them. I had to take care of myself because I have an 11-year-old daughter who I'm responsible for. If I'm suffering watching my mom go through that, I can't let my daughter suffer the same thing because I won't take care of myself.
Yeah.
And with the program, it was the breathing, the acknowledging, the work that the first few days of the program teaches. I was able to implement that. Let's say driving behind the ambulance, instead of freaking out, I was actually concentrating on my breath. I was concentrated on the driving. I was concentrated in what can I say? What can I say? I remember how everybody goes through a different trauma process and how you have to be very careful with the words that you say in a trauma. So I was very cautious and aware of my conversations, of conversations around us. Not that I can control anybody, but I would try to do what the program teaches through me to help everybody around. And that helped me stay stable. And when I needed to cry, I did. I bawled. And when I needed to do a tantrum, I did plenty of those.
Great. Letting out all of that emotional energy, because we don't want to suppress it. We want to self-regulate it and be able to utilize all of our tools to keep ourselves centered and grounded. But also at the same time, we have to acknowledge what those emotional upheavals inside ourselves. And that's what Key 6 is all about, learning how to release that energy and know it's okay. Okay. Right. And as long as we're not vomiting that onto other people, we then regather ourselves as you've done and then become, I love what you say here is that you have to take care of you. You have a daughter that needed what she needed from you, and the messages that you shared of how you were handling it also rubbed off on her. So when you bring stability to yourself, you bring stability to your daughter, and of course, even to your mother and your sister who are going through what they're going through, because they need somebody like that there to be able to kind of hold the space of sanity, of healing, of health, and love, which you obviously did. So
Right.
when you think about that, which key do you find the most helpful that was able to let you be centered through this turmoil that you were living?
That's a trick question because I don't remember them by heart.
Okay, that's okay. Well, you mentioned the breathing, which is key
Right.
number one, okay? And that's the
Right.
first thing that we learn, okay? And then the key number two is the internal dialogue, because very often, we get into some very fearful thinking when we see this going around us, and then we just really make it even worse for ourselves, okay? And then, of course, then we have the embodiment key in order to be able to maintain that strong physical containment and that grounding, and of course communication and forgiveness and purpose.
See, I think, and this is the way my mind works and the way I am. I don't remember which key is which, but I think just going through the experience of really applying all the different strategies and all the different steps and all the different keys, it gets to a point, at least that's what happened to me at that moment. I didn't even have to think about it. It just gets to a point that it kicks in. You know what you're supposed to do,
Right.
or you just do it. I mean, it's the training of going through the steps and going through. It's like arithmetic. You learn that 2 + 2 is 4, but you don't really need it until it's like, okay, now I need it. You just know the answer is 4.
Right.
So I think it was a process of going through all the steps, maybe in different order, because the inner dialogue could have been anything from love and forgiveness to, and you remember to breathe, to,
Right.
hey, did we eat today? Because that's important too. Or did the kids eat? Not only mine, but my nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
It's like it's a process that you just kind of cycle through and zigzag, and you just feel your way through. And I don't know how to describe it better than that.
No, that's beautiful. And really, it really isn't about knowing which number key you're using at all. It's about making it habits that they just happen and they integrate one after the other. That's why we have it set up with practice day after day, week after week, so it just becomes a new habit and you don't actually think about it. So what advice would you give to others who are struggling with different issues? Maybe it's not the specific issues that you have, but it's challenges of dealing with families, dealing with relationships in their own household, dealing with, their jobs, and I can go on because you, in addition to this, you have many other challenges that you didn't even bring up about moving to another state, starting new jobs, getting involved in new relationships, formulating yourself in a whole new area in Texas. Again, using the keys, and it becomes, okay, this is what I do and how I do it. But any advice that you give to those who are struggling in their lives?
I think the first one would be just breathe and have patience. I mean, we're always going to go through struggles, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and that sometimes we forget. We forget to have that hope. And second, it's even though you don't want to, go into the program and do it. As silly as it may be, as serious as it may be, as long as it may take, even if it's supposed to be daily and it takes you 2-3 days, don't cheat on it. Really do it, because from my experience with this alone, I didn't know when I was going to need what I needed when I needed it. But because I forced myself to go through the daily things and to really journal what I was feeling and to really embody those exercises, even though it was in chaos when I practiced them, the moment I needed them, I felt enough confidence in me that everything would be okay. I don't know how it would be okay, but it would be okay because I would be okay.
Beautiful.
So I think that would be my biggest thing. Just really go through it.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and I'm so pleased to see that beautiful smile on your face, and you know, and that's the great thing is, you know, we can't control what happens around us.
Right.
But we can learn how to create a control within ourselves, to regulate ourselves, to choose how to find that emotional balance, to create a new focus, to be able to forgive and open ourselves. And you've done such a beautiful job, and you've done it under difficult circumstances. And I think that's the best of all. You said it so beautiful. You don't know when you're going to need it. You don't know what you're going to need. Okay, but to know that you have it inside you, and that you've got the training, you've got the familiarity with what to do and how to do it, it just clicks in like a new habit when the time is right. And that's the nicest thing to have it all. So you don't have to sit there and be worried about the future. You have to be ready and know whatever happens, I can handle it. And you've proven that. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful, actually.
Thank you.